Hey, how's it going, dudes and dudettes? Bradley Guitologist here. I was contacted not too long ago by one of the representatives of Banggood.com, and apparently they're kind of scoping out sort of the mid-level YouTubers like me to kind of see if they can give us a few things that we can review on our channels and kind of, I guess, spread the word about their website. It's one of the ways that I've decided that I'm going to try to make some extra cash for this channel, so I can buy things that I need and parts and etc. And what I've done is set up some affiliate links and so forth, and there's a couple things I've already kind of recommended, like the soldering iron that I bought myself that wasn't provided for me, but this has been provided for me, and I actually solicited this. He was like, what, do you see anything that we could send you that you actually, that you would like to review? And I was like, kind of cheekily responded, yeah, why don't you send me one of these? It's like a $244 item. I kind of chuckled to myself like, yeah, right, you're going to send me this. And he was like, okay, I'll send you one. There are some big players in this market, and their products are expensive. I mean, you have to pay usually over $1,000 to get something, that's decent for one of these. So we'll see how the $244 one holds up. I've never used one of the really good ones. I have seen them used, and I actually documented one being used around my house not too long ago in another video. I will put a card up here if you want to check that video out of that unit. But what this is an infrared thermal camera, and it looks like it might be a halfway decent one. Okay, so here's some of the specs. Battery life is about 6 hours. It runs on AA's, 4 of them. File format is bitmap. Uses a mini SD card. The accuracy of temperature measurements is plus or minus 2%. The range is from negative 20 degrees Celsius up to 300 degrees Celsius. Resolution is 60 by 60 or 3600 pixels. But it looks like we have some English instructions, at least, which is nice to see. Okay, and also just for the occasion, the other day I went out and bought some rechargeable batteries so I don't have to bother eating up batteries. And I highly recommend rechargeable batteries, man. You really get your money's worth. Okay, it looks like here we have an on-off button that also serves as a menu button. And over here a select enter button, and we have 4 other buttons here, and we'll see what they do. Okay. So loading, loading, loading. There we can see my light. And we can see my other light right there behind it. There is the TV screen. There's my 3 lights over here, showing up as hot spots. Let's see. Let's see what my window up here looks like. Oh, my window is a cold spot. A couple other things about this you may want to know. This has a mount on the bottom, so you can attach it to a tripod. Also, once again, this thing does take a micro SD memory card, which is located here on the top. And wow, that just sprung out right at me. So you might want to be very careful if you're getting the micro SD card out. Comes with a 4 GB card, which is probably enough since this is it just takes bitmap photos. Okay, let's go over some of the menu features here. First, we have a time setting. That's what that 1559 is all about. Here we have a saved image, which will tell you how many images we have stored on the SD card. Here we have a brightness, which can be adjusted up or down. So if I hit the select button and select this, I can change it like so, and I can really kind of brighten up the screen. 10% seems pretty good, or 20%. That's going to give you the longest battery life. Here we can change between Fahrenheit and Celsius. BG, what that is the, let's see, that is the background temperature setting. And the next thing down, that tells you how much storage you have left on the SD card. This of course is your color palette. You can select different color palettes. You can go with a grayscale. This one, which has a yellow as the hottest. This one also has the yellow as the hottest, but it's a bit different than the other one. There's two different versions of that where the yellow is hottest. Here's one that's got some greens in it. I seem to like this one about the best, so I'm going to leave it on this one. This next setting is the emissivity setting. I'm not exactly sure what that is. That has to do, I think, with the with how much infrared is being emitted from the unit. This will turn on or off the setting for, I'll show you. Okay, so basically, if this thing is, if it's an off, you will only have the one little crosshair right here in the center of the screen. However, if I turn that on, now you'll see a couple different crosshairs will appear. And if I move, let's say over here where we can see a hot region and a cold region, what it's going to do, it's automatically going to put a couple of different crosshairs. It's hard to see this one because it's right in the yellow, but there's one right there telling me the hottest region on this screen, and there's one over here telling me the coldest region. So that's kind of a cool feature. It'll automatically kind of go to the hottest and the coldest regions in any given image that you have here. This one's actually a little better, easier to see. You can see the hot region over here being defined by that little square, and then we have another square over here for the coldest region. As far as the display, it will show you several things. It will show you the temperature at the center point that you've selected. It will also show you the minimum and the maximum temperatures of everything that's currently on the screen. It will show you the emissivity coefficient here. It will show you the battery life that is left. It will show you the gradient color scheme that you've selected, as well as the time. And the cool thing about this is, if you're interested in the temperatures of everything that you have going on your screen, it will give you the 3 different temperatures if you have that option selected. It will give you a temperature here of the minimum, which is about 61. It'll give you the temperature of your center, which is about 69. It'll give you the temperature of the hottest thing, which in this case is about 151 degrees Fahrenheit. So we have quite the range of temperatures going on here, and we have 3 distinct measurements. Another cool feature of this is that it will gradiate between a regular picture and the infrared. So you can go full-on infrared, or you can step backwards and you can start adding in visible light spectrum as well. So you have, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gradients to select from. Another thing this has is an LED light, and what you have to do to turn the LED light on is hold this trigger button for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or actually it was a little quicker than that, and then you have an LED light that comes on. You can also turn the LED back off by holding that trigger for another 5 seconds. Okay, so here's an example of the sort of thing I would be using this for. Power's on, and we'll see if anything starts to heat up. You can see right there, those capacitors are definitely warmer than everything surrounding. Just scan on down this way and see if there are any other hot spots. There's a hot spot right there. It's either that capacitor or is that transistor, one of the two. You know, overall the resolution could be improved a little bit. This is giving me a pretty good overview, and again I can jump kind of back and forth between the things that I'm looking at. So if I want, like, if I want to see just, you know, video, so there's those capacitors, and then I can jump, boom, you see there they are, And if you hit it again, oops, if you hit it again, see, their hot spots start to appear but lower down. And there's a hot spot up above them, and that is the transformer. See the transformer up there? So that transformer also has a hot spot on it. Now again, this is not, this is not a $1,500 Flir. This is a $244 Chinese Banggood product. So this is, you're talking about having something that's would normally be a very expensive item on the cheap. So that's one of the ways that these can be used to your advantage if you're doing any kind of electronics work. All right, let's check out a tube amp with this thing and see what that looks like. Okay, so there we can see the regular image. Okay, I'm starting to get sound, so it's starting to conduct, and we can see there one of the tubes is getting warmer than the others right away, and that is the output tube. There's the rectifier tube now starting to heat up as well. And the cool thing about this is we can get right on that and we can kind of get a reading. Pretty much we can get a fairly accurate reading, I'm assuming, of how warm that is. And this should also tell us whether or not a tube, is on the verge of red plating. So it could head off some bias issues before you actually notice red plating in the visible spectrum. So yeah, you can clearly see the tubes getting hot there. So let's open this thing up and see what the internals look like. You can already see a couple things down here, kind of warm. That's that resistor. 168 degrees. The capacitors look like they're doing okay. We got another little hot spot right here. What's this? That one's 124 degrees. That is that little dropping resistor right there. So that dropping resistor is getting hot. Those are the resistors I would expect to get hot as well, because they're in the power rail. That's the first power rail resistor right there, and I would expect that resistor to be pretty hot. This is the second dropping resistor, and I would expect it to be pretty hot. And although that 1 watt is probably sufficient to handle this, that might be something, again, that could be upgraded. There's another little kind of a hot spot right there. What is that? Let's see, that's that capacitor that it's attached to. So the capacitor also is a little bit warm. And that could signal that that capacitor is, possibly in the process of failing also. So that might be something, we kind of keep an eye on. But you can see the two biggest hot spots right there. That's those two dropping resistors, and that's gonna be normal. That's something that you would expect to see in a tube amp. You would expect to see the dropping resistors giving off some heat. Now what you don't want to see is like, that transformer right there, for instance, giving off any heat or giving off very much heat. I mean, some is okay, but you definitely don't want it to be giving off a lot of heat. And if transformers are giving off heat, that usually signifies you got some problems. And I can tell you this, when I'm not looking through the viewfinder on this camera, it's much easier to see what's going on this screen. And it looks a hell of a lot better in person than it does on this camera. This is something that you definitely want to consider picking up. This would be a real nice tool to have around the shop. If you do the kinds of things that I do, if you work on any kind of electronics, this would be the business to have. because, you know, once again, you're going to be able to look at your circuits and tell at a glance whether something is getting really hot. And if you see an area on a board or something that's getting really hot and it shouldn't be hot, then, you know, that's what you want to look at. So this could actually tip you off to things that are going bad and haven't, you know, gone up in smoke quite yet. My only complaint would be, like, if you're getting up close to objects, you know, you have a difference in, you know, where the different cameras are located, so there's a little bit of a disparity between the locations if you're getting too close. But as long as you're far enough back, you know, they overlay okay. So I don't know how it's going to hold up in terms of longevity. You know, maybe it'll crap out on me in 6 months. I really don't know. But for the money, you know, I would say this is a good alternative to a Flir. If you don't want to spend $1,000 or even, you know, $600, $700, $800 on a used Flir, Fluke also makes some of these, I believe, and they are also likewise expensive. But this is a cheap alternative. I would much rather, I think, get one of these as an entry-level thing than jump off the deep end and get a Flir if I wasn't going to use it all the time. So yeah, thanks for watching, you guys. Hit the subscribe button down below if you've enjoyed the video. Also check out the description if you want one of these things for yourself. And for now, y'all take care.
Got the blue stone baby down by